Hello and welcome to my first educational video that's going to have a bit of depth to it. Maybe it's not educational, maybe it's conspiracy, who knows? But let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. So I'm going to be talking about how colours are used to influence us, and I'll be showing you potential societal brainwashing here in the UK, comparing the NHS colour scheme before, during and after the fludemic with the Ukrainian flag. So comparing the NHS colour scheme and the Ukrainian flag colours. I'll go over the psychology and the science, and obviously we all love science, the ones that are being told to us, but science can be questioned, and that's what we've got to remember. Science comes from everywhere, all different perspectives. It's not just one science, one rule. That's propaganda, that's not how science works. But anyway, we've been looking at the colours behind the intent and what they could mean and how they can influence us. So yeah, I won't go on about me, but this is an enjoyment I have. I like colours, shapes, I like how things could be represented. I've studied it, I've done it within my own artwork, and when I saw this, I was like, yeah, this is, it was clear to me what was going on. So I'm going to try and put it in a video to help other people understand what's going on in my brain, and also, you know, it's good to ask questions, and it's also good to, I think it's good to know what's going on. I like the truth, I like reality, I don't like falsalities and being lied to. But anyway, straight to the video. Slide 1, I'm going to read from this. So every time I come to a new slide, I'm going to whack my glasses on, and you're not going to see my face when I read the slide. Whoosh. Colour holds power. It can impact our moods, emotions and behaviours. It can also be a source of information, while an individual's response to colour can stem from personal experience, and the science of colour, along with the colour psychology, supports the idea there's far more to it. Countless studies have been conducted on the relationship between colour, particularly in the areas of marketing and branding. And here are some of the findings. Colour can influence 85% of shoppers' purchase decisions. About 62 to 90% of the product assessment is based on colour alone, and colours increase brand awareness by 80%. Colours influence how consumers view the personality of the brand in question, so it's important to get it right. So when I think about branding, I instantly think of, dare I say it, McDonald's or Apple or Nike, Coca-Cola, and you know, Coca-Cola and McDonald's. When you think of these two brands, you instantly think of food, or drink, and that's what these brands do, especially with the colours and the association of these colours. They're built to influence us, to grab the audience's attention, to do something with our brain which makes us go, ooh, food, drink, I can instantly relate to that. Or even, ooh, shopping, I want to buy something. You know, colour's there to influence. Next slide. I won't keep doing this every slide, but you know. Blue. This is from The Guardian. Blue for trust. Red for passion. How to pick a colour scheme for your brand. Traditionally, the fast food industry has embraced red and yellow, while banks are used as, I nearly read that as white banks use nationalistic colours. While banks use nationalistic colours, why is this? And should businesses try to stand out? Colour is one of the most primitive forms of communication we have. Through colour, nature tells us when something is dangerous. Think of the yellow and black wasp, and through our evolution, we come to associate emotion with colour. The use of colour in marketing exploits these emotions on a psychological level. There are times when it's obvious. Most people associate blue with, get back to that, is something I screenshot from The Guardian, and it says, thinking outside the news in boxes, jump to the colour palette. And I find this, you know, the blue and yellows here, 2018, maybe this is when The Guardian started introducing these colours. But I have noticed a trend within using blue and yellow in certain industries. So I don't know, maybe they want a direct link, but it draws us in, and it's like, why have they started using blue and yellow? Anyway, blue. Blue, blue, blue. I'm gonna have to keep doing this every time I read. Should get contact lenses, mate. True Blue Trust, why the colours your brand uses matter. And I find this colour wheel really interesting because it's got the psychology in branding. It shows the positive and negative sides of colours. So as you can see, or I can't see now, if I read the yellow and blue, I'll go for the blue first. Let's see what blue means. Trust, loyalty, dependability, logic, serenity, security, coldness, aloofness, emotionless. So I went on to negative straight after there, after security. Unfriendliness, uncaring, and unappetizing. And when I think of blue, I think of Conservative Party or Chelsea Football Club. These two blues have different meanings. You know, Chelsea Football Club, it's got a dark blue, and then you've got Conservative as a light blue. And it's almost ironic, you know, that Conservatives, or the party itself, is blue, and it represents trust and loyalty. And it's been one of the most lying, deceitful parties of late in modern political history in the UK. So, you know, maybe they should have a different colour. Maybe no colour at all. And then the yellow. Optimism, warmth, happiness, creativity, intellect, extroversion. This is positive. And then negative is irrationality, fear, caution, anxiety, frustration, and cowardice. So yeah, imagine having sort of a conflict of these two, of different colours, how that would have an effect on your brain when you're looking at something and you're wanting to trust it. It's association of trust, but really they're being quite deceitful, like I said about Conservative Party. And obviously with the yellow, you've got the fear, caution, and anxiety, and that's what those colours, the colour yellow also represents, along with happiness and warmth and optimism. Two very conflicting emotions, but they're there. And that leads me to the posters to do with mental health and the NHS. And I noticed one of the first posters I came across was created in 2018, Mental Health Awareness Week. The 2018 poster, or one of, was yellow and blue. And then over the next few years, couldn't find one from 2019. It was a bit more multicoloured, rainbow coloured, but that seems to be a bit of a theme at the moment anyway. I look at the top poster here and it states, really normal questions in a really not normal year. Every mind matters. And this is a slogan as well. I don't particularly like the expression something matters, because it's a way of making you feel like you're connected with something. You know, no lives matter, all lives matter, black lives matter, women's lives matter, every mind matters. It's that slogan and it's that saying that makes you connect to something. It's very cheekily done in this poster. And you've got the yellow and blue again. And then the other poster here, need urgent help with your health. Yellow and blue, 2020. And then 2021, which is more like a flag. When I saw this, it's more like a flag. It's got a more of a softer blue and the yellow, but the way it's struck across at the bottom there, and you've also got the saying, every mind matters at the bottom there. And this theme continued with the yellow and blue, with the NHS, with the digital side of things. In 2017, you can see, Fit for 2020, report from the NHS Digital Capability Review, July 2017, this was created, which makes me wonder, it sort of links back to the Guardian article, I think was, what year was this? 2018. So when did these colour schemes start to come in play? Was it 2017 and 18? Was this becoming an early thing to create for something planned to expect in the future? And then the next poster, the yellow and blue again, your data matters is that slogan again, where it's like trying to draw you in, trying to make you feel like a part of something. Your data matters, so listen to us, trust us. We've got the blue here, we've got the yellow, we're optimistic, we're trustworthy, we're loyal. And I also noticed subtle green bits popping in, which is quite earthy, excuse me. 2018, we've got a poster on Twitter from the Liverpool NHS, quick and easy, yellow and blue again. And then you've got the NHS app, which is yellow and blue themed again. They tried to they introduced this in 2019-20, and this was more of a tracking thing. That's how I saw it. It's more of a tracking device, though our phones already do that. This is, you sign in everywhere you go, collecting your extra data. And then the next poster, 2020, with the building blocks, the yellow, it's kind of like that build togetherness, published 2020. And then 2021 to 2022, you've got the building blocks again in the corner there. You've got the yellow and blue, early career programs. So what point were they planning this? Because I feel like, obviously, if you look back at the posters, you've got the yellow blue into play, but you've also got them building up to a point where they're going to start introducing careers. That's quite obvious, because there was a problem. They need to make it fit for 2020, and then a year after that. This is all during the fludemic. This is all during this period. It's almost like they're trying to push through something, and this is happening around the world, this type of centralised way, WEF agenda. But anyway, won't get sidetracked. So the early career program is trying to put people, or give people the incentive to join this new program, to join this new initiative that they're putting forward. And they've done it very sneakily. Hats off to them, but not in a positive way. So I thought, when did this colour palette change happen? When did they change the colours? Because it's not always had the yellow for one. And I noticed it was NHS it used to be a softer blue, I believe, and now there's more of this darker blue. So when did it change? It was 2017, according to Carbon Dating the Web. So I could not find the date of when this was published as question on the NHS website. Why has the NHS colour palette changed? When did it change, and why did it change? We probably won't get a why, but we got the when, which was 2017. And what was changed was the blue, the greys, the pink, and then the NHS yellow was a NHS warm yellow and a Euro ambulance yellow, which completely links with the whole Euro side of things, how they're trying to make things a bit more centralised. We look at the text underneath, and it says, when you compare the old NHS blue side by side, you can see a small difference. However, as people should only come across either the old or the new NHS blue on its own, they shouldn't notice a change. Which to me is like, well, subconsciously, we are going to notice a change, because like I said about branding and marketing, colours are put in place in order for us to engage or relate to a product. So when you change a blue, or the blues and the yellow, we instantly link it with something. And the fact they said we shouldn't notice a change, yeah, we're not going to distinctively notice a change straight away. It's not how our mind works. We're not going to, there's different shades of white and we don't completely pick up on it. Which is very cheeky of them to put it out like that. You shouldn't notice a change, but your subconscious will, and you will relate to things. You will connect the dots with something, because that's what colours are built to do. But why did they hide the date on the website? That's what I want to know. Why is it so hidden away? Why did it have to take me so much effort to dig that one out? So during the flu, we had posters come around, dot around UK. Stay alert to stay safe. The rollout is starting. Stay alert to stay safe. The covering, face covering to protect others. And again, like all these posters got this deep yellow and the blue. My particular favourite one of this is the one at the top from the Prime Minister in 2020, with the dark yellow mask pink background, kind of like, hey, you know, face coverings protect others. Not like the Lord Kitchener pointing, you know, we need you. It's more of a face coverings protect others. The pink, the soft pink is very pop arty. It's quite welcoming. I wonder if this is a Z then. Oh dear. And this lettering, the wording of this as well, like stay alert to stay safe. It's very, I just find it really, I found that whole thing patronising. It's like, it was almost saying you are alert, like, or be alert, you're alert, and then they're telling you how to behave or what to do. So your alertness is literally just conforming to what they're telling you to do. That's how I saw it anyway. And that if you don't comply to what they're saying, you won't stay safe. That's how I read it, which is very sad because they knew exactly what they were doing. Now on to the juicy bit, the juicy, very juicy. Look at the colours here between the NHS yellow and blue and the Ukraine yellow and blue. Now this is a screenshot of the NHS website app and website, but the yellow is probably a little bit dimmer than what it actually is when you go online. It's a little bit thicker yellow, but I wanted it to be authentic as I can, so I've uploaded that one. But you can see the blues are pretty much the same at first glance. The bordering of it is very much the same. Similar amount of yellow, similar amount of blue. And it's very, you know, that way of things is very distinctive. If you take away the words on the NHS screenshot there, you know, it looks exactly like the flag. And it was really interesting when I was putting these colours, putting that slide together with the NHS and the Ukraine flag. It was the colour palette of the blue. So look at this slide. Look how identical, similar the two blues are when I swatched over both blues. The numbers are near enough the same. You've got 005 EB8, 005 BBB, and then the green and the blue there, 94, 91, 184, 187. Cyan, 91, 91. Magenta, I believe it's magenta and cyan, or cayenne. Cayenne pepper. Cyan pepper. The numbers are pretty much identical, and that's, you know, that tells me enough about the colour scheme they're going for here. So I wanted to bring more science into it and talk about an experiment between colours. So this is from the National Library of Medicine, where colour preferences in participants with high or low hypnotic susceptibility. And this test was done in 2018 in China. Out of 440 participants, we selected 70 with higher high and 66 with a lower low hypnotic susceptibility, and asked them to undergo the Stanford Hypnotic Susceptibility Scale, Form C test, then to order their preference of 11 colours. So it's a test where they put together the colours together, what is more apparent and what's not. Colour preferences may vary among normal individuals and psychiatric patients, and this may be related to their different levels of hypnotic susceptibility. We hypnotise that individuals with higher hypnotic susceptibility prefer more arousing colours such as red. So red is a more favourable colour, or it's more apparent. The hypnotic susceptibility is a stable ability to responsiveness to suggestions for changes in subject's experience and for alterations in perception, sensation, emotion, thought or behaviour. High hypnotisables, very interesting word, were reported to have increased accessibility to effective events and exaggerated emotional feelings. Considering colour preference is determined by the average effect response to everything the individual associates with the colour, it might be influenced by individual hypnotisability, you get it, similar to personal function. So the colour preference test, the participant was positioned about 50 centimeters away from the monitor in a dark room with the illumination consisting of the direct diffusion light from a 40-watt fluorescent lamp. The colours were presented on a computer monitor. And here are the results. Here are the results. And this blew my mind. But it didn't blow my mind because these are the primary colours. And I'm not surprised they're more favourable. But what is surprising is that how hypnotic these colours could be. Obviously, it's a small test, but a test is a test. It's a science test, and we shouldn't doubt science, especially when it's presented to us through methods such as this. It's a real test. They've done it. They've come to a conclusion. This is the result. So the highest hypnotic colour was red. Second was green. Third was blue. And fourth was yellow. And there are a lot of colours. There are a lot of colours. And in the top four, you've got blue and yellow. So what are the chances of blue and yellow being used to hypnotise, to manipulate people into having a reaction or an emotional reaction or a direct link to something based on a colour? I think it's very high. I think that the two colours were used to create a reaction or a direct link. And it's been done in a really creative way and very menacing way because they've used a country and a service to influence people. Now, these colours were also used around the world, yellow and blue. They were used in China and America, but because I'm in the UK and the NHS is quite distinctive, I feel like the UK, I think we're a smart country. I think there's a lot of intelligent people here. I think a lot of people are more self-aware than we give ourselves credit for, but we don't want to make that leap sometimes, and I completely understand that. But they've infiltrated the NHS and they've adopted a country to try and manipulate people into making certain decisions, and that's cruel. That's cruel. That's tyranny. But anyway, I'm not going to go straight to a conclusion yet. I'm going to do a few more things. So I'm going to do a little experiment of my own, and I want you to compare or look at the NHS colour scheme and the Ukrainian flag and tell me which is which. Let me know in the comments. And if you couldn't tell a difference, let me know. If you could tell a difference, great. But like the NHS website said, you shouldn't be able to tell a difference. You shouldn't really know. You shouldn't really notice. So when I'm flicking these back and forward, you're not gonna know. So don't even try and lie to me. Don't even lie to yourself. Okay? Stop lying to yourself. But here we go. Experiment. It's going to be 10 seconds or something. Here we go. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed that. Because when I did it, I was almost frightened. Next, I'm going to read the slide, need my glasses on. So this is again from the National Library of Medicine, another science review, 2013. The influence of colour on memory performance review. I'm just going to read it straight off the bat. Human memory is commonly dichotomized to involve the short-term and long-term memory storage. This dualistic nature of memory was proposed by the early investigators of memory, such as William James, Wag, and Norman. The W is silent. The GH is silent. Wah. The model proposed by Wah and Norman retained. In addition, the clinical setting specific interventions involving colours can be introduced to deal with memory related problems such as learning difficulties, autism, dyslexia and others. So I had this. I used colour sticky notes. I did it at school. I even have Erlin, so I had coloured glasses, and it helped me remember things. So colour is there to help you remember, to link things together, and that's science, and we cannot deny that. And I know other people have had the same experience. With the use of colour for intervention, it can help patients to follow and understand their learning programme better. Clinical intervention for patients with dyslexia using colour have been proven to be effective, just like I said. It helped me so much. It helped me so much. Memory is made up of 3 structures: sensory register store, short-term store, and long-term store. Environmental stimuli will first reach the sensory register store, and the memory store can register a huge amount of information, but the information is retained there very briefly. Information that is subject to a certain amount of attention is then moved to the short-term store. Information will be transferred to the long-term store for more permanent storage as a result of various types of control processes. It is said the use of control processes such as maintenance and elaborative rehearsal, heuristic, or other memorization strategies are important to allow the information to be transferred from the shorter store to the longer term store. So that essentially means, well, they're putting the strategy. The link I have there is with the slides that I spoke about, which is the mental health poster and the digital posters, where you're implementing yellow and blue from an early stage for it to be built up over time to go from your short-term storage to your long-term. So you're always going to associate it. Just like McDonald's or Coca-Cola, it's taken a long time for us to associate it. And when you do that to people, they're going to instantly recognize or associate something with something, X, Y, or Z. Just like it said, elaborative rehearsal. So it's like this rehearsal, this constant build-up of this yellow and blue in our system that's been placed subliminally through the messaging that we have seen throughout the years, to the point of when Russia invaded Ukraine. Anyway, therefore, it is important for the stimuli available in the environment to have the potential to activate the attention and to be involved in the control processes or deeper level of processing in order for the stimuli to be better remembered. Previous studies have shown evidences that colour is one of the variables that has those potential. So colour essentially is there to activate your brain and for you to instantly recognise something and to be, oh, this. Colour can influence the level of attention and also give rise to emotional arousal. See, when I read that, it frustrated me because I knew instantly that people who had the yellow and blue flag in their profiles all over social media were just doing it because they would go along with it, where they were conforming. It was an emotional arousal. It was literally that. That's what was happening. The yellow and blue initiated that in your brain, and you thought, but you popped it out. There we go. Also give rise to emotional arousal, which contributes to the control processes that will later enhance memory performance. So your memory is being built. The yellow and blue is there to build something in place, blocks of memory, in order for it to come up later, in order for you to relate this in the now to what happened then. And that's some scary stuff. That's some scary manipulative stuff, and I do not approve of it. I do not approve of it. I knew exactly what was going on. I could not avoid talking about this, even though it's taken me 20 years to create this video. I'm glad it's out there now. So I've collected some posters or images from around the world. It's not completely distinctive to the UK, but there are posters that are similar to this that I've seen on bus stops or around in the UK, on buses, on the tube, XYZ, or just on the adverts. I don't have a TV, but I know there are adverts and they use yellow and blue. So you can see like here, the mask, blue, yellow background, and then you've got the blue glove, yellow background. Trust us, but caution at the same time. Oh dear. And then again, yellow and blue, quite distinctive yellow and blue scheme going on there. And that's happened around the world. It's not just in the UK. So they've been planting the seeds, as it were. They have planted a seed, and you've got to nurture it. You've got to water it. You've got to let it grow. You've got to be patient with it. And when it blooms, boom. NPC Ukraine. So can you manipulate the audience with colour? Do they do it in film? Do they do it in TV? Do they do it in advertising? They do, but let's read an article. Manipulating the audience's emotions with colour. Colour. I've noticed also I've said a lot of colour and a lot of American articles, but anyway, they don't know how to spell colour. This is from Shutterstock in 2016. Movies stir up emotions in ways you might not even realise. The composition of each individual shot in a film is crucial, as are the ideas that come up with these shots. Whether it's a certain aesthetic choice made when colouring or the wardrobe and objects with which the frame is filled. Colour can manipulate the emotions of an audience on many different levels, conscious and subconsciously. I word that slightly different, but you know, that instantly, as I spoke at the beginning, we're talking about consciously and throughout it. Conscious and subconsciously. You may not notice it consciously, but your mind, subconscious, is doing all its work. It's creating emotions, it's stirring up things in your head, and it's putting things together. Obviously, colours can mean many different things and can be used in many different ways. There's no right or wrong way to use blue, green, orange, etc. Finding an appealing and unique way to stir up feelings with your audience through the use of colour is a real challenge. Let's take a look at some different colours. I don't need to look at that. You can see on the website different films, they've used different colours to provoke different reactions. It's all on there. But you know, it says here, it's to stir up feelings. Colour is there to use against someone's feelings, to manipulate your feelings and how you react to something. The decisions you make as a filmmaker to include or not include certain colours in your film are entirely up to you. There's no right or wrong way to convey sadness, happiness or fear. However, there are subconscious levels of primal emotion in your audience that can be triggered if colour is used correctly. Like any decision you make in production, make sure it serves a story and engages your audience. Wow. Wow. I don't need to say anything else upon that, apart from how very sad, because what I've just read is exactly what I've seen happen with the use of the Ukraine flag and the NHS colours. Triggering emotions, manipulating people into reacting. And also we've seen a lot of stuff in Ukraine where there's photo shoots going on, there's films going on, prime ministers are going over there and walking in the streets in a war zone, and then you just had, you know, musical performances going on there. It's mind-boggling. It feels like a stage, it looks like a stage. Anyway, not only did they manipulate everyone, they also manipulated us through our children. And they used them in their images. Again, you've got the yellow and blue with this one. And you've got the young man here, yellow and blue, bit of green there, multicoloured, mask on. It's very sad. But there's a lot more posters like that where they're using children to persuade us into making a decision. But it's a yellow and blue again. It's making us feel we're part of something. And then more recent posters: boost your immunity this winter with the flu, shma, and the other shma. And you've got the blue and yellow in the poster, quite obviously, and the one below it again, blue and yellow. Very sad. Once you make the connections with it all, you realise what they're actually doing. And it reminds me of the old wartime posters, which I have spoke about before in a dissertation, where posters are there to influence you. They're there to help you make a decision into something, and they're also there to manipulate you. Such as the Lord Kitchener poster, which I mentioned earlier. It's making you feel like you must be part of something, that you need to do something. And if you don't sign up, you're a bad person. If you don't partake in this, you're a bad person. If you don't listen and conform, you're a bad person. Again, this is also playing with your emotions, and they're using colour on top of this to play with your emotions. And I just find all that very sad. So another psychology slide here. Colour. Does it affect how you feel? So I found this short description of colour psychology and does it affect how you feel? Do you feel anxious in a yellow room? Does the colour blue make you feel calm and relaxed? Artists and interior designers have long believed that colour can dramatically affect moods, feelings and emotions. Colours, like features, follow the changes of the emotions. The artist Pablo Picasso once remarked, "A man I do not trust anymore." Colour is a powerful communication tool and can be used to signal action, influence mood, and even influence psychological reactions. Certain colours have been associated with increased blood pressure, increased metabolism, and eye strain. So how exactly does colour work, and how is colour believed to impact mood and behaviour? Now, I don't go deep into this, but I'm just going to talk about the bit of this slide. But again, it relates to stuff I've previously spoke about moods, altering reactions, and how colour is used to influence that. So colour psychology as therapy. Several ancient cultures, including the Egyptians and Chinese, practice chromotherapy, or the use of colours to heal. Chromotherapy is sometimes referred to as light therapy or colorology, and colorology is still used today as holistic or alternative treatment. So I'm just going to talk about the blue and the yellow. Yellow is thought to stimulate the nerves and purify the blood. Blue is believed to soothe illness and treat pain. I instantly think of the schmot on your arm. Yellow is to stimulate the nerves and purify the blood. Blue is believed to soothe illness and treat pain. If this is colour therapy, it has completely been used. See, I don't do coincidences. This is not a coincidence, especially when you look deep within what colours mean and represent. And the yellow and blue was 100% used to influence our emotions, to make us feel like we need to make certain decisions and to support certain causes. And this page, this was 2020 and medically reviewed, may I add, medically reviewed. So if anyone wants to try and dismiss this science because they're upset by what they've heard, well, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem, and you going along with it isn't going to help anyone. You can't listen to one science and not the other. That is propaganda. Science is broad. Obviously, some science we know, solid, liquid, gas, again, but that could still be subjective because we're all atoms. But yeah, it's worrying. It's the blue and yellow. I mean, think of one of the previous slides about the needle there, stimulate the nerves and purify the blood with the yellow, and the blue is there to soothe illness and treat pain, which the blue is used in the NHS website, and the yellow, we can also refer back to the psychology wheel, the chart with the colours and the other feelings and emotions it could bring up. And these are the ones that are also, I believe they were on there too. Warmth, happiness, optimism, and then the blue, serenity, security, and trust. It's very worrying when you connect the dots like that and you look at it through this perspective, because they know exactly what they're doing and they've put this in place for a reason. So it's something I want to talk about, mass formation psychosis, and this came up through Dr. Malone, and then I've done a bit of research and found out where else it came from, but I just wanted to read this. Mass Formation by Dr. Matthias Desmet, Professor of Psychology, University of Ghent, published 2021. So there are 4 conditions that need to be present to create mass formation. Number 1, there needs to be a lot of socially isolated people, or people who experience a lack of social bond. Number 2, people who experience a lack of sense making and able to come to sensible conclusions. 3, there's a lot of free-floating anxiety. Free-floating because there's nothing to connect their anxiety to, no focal point, unable to identify what's causing and so no way deal with it. Number 4, there's also a lot of free-floating psychological discontent. People may experience their daily lives as lacking any purpose or meaning. Free-floating anxiety is the most painful psychological phenomenon to experience and leads to panic attacks. In this state of unfocused anxiety, the mind tries to connect its anxiety to something, an object of anxiety. The next piece of the puzzle is a strategy to deal with the object of anxiety. So when the preconditions are highly present within a population, and then the media provide a narrative which indicates a focal point for this anxiety, while at the same time describing a strategy to deal with the object of anxiety, then all the anxiety connects to this object of anxiety. Problem, reaction, solution. Next. If a large segment of people are willing to follow this strategy to deal with this object of anxiety, no matter the cost, then in a second step, people start a collective and heroic battle with this object of anxiety. And in that way, a new kind of social bond emerges, Ukraine. And with that, a new kind of sense-making or purpose, Ukraine again, bonding together, building blocks, togetherness. Suddenly, life is all directed towards battling this object of anxiety. This creates a new sense of connectedness with others in the mass formation. So over the years, we've been isolated, been drip-fed fear, been told we can't go out, we can't see our loved ones, and all this time they've been using colours to manipulate our mind for a grand opening to war. This sudden and radical switch from negative state of lack of social connection to the opposite, a massive increase in social connection, leads up to mental intoxication. Similar to hypnosis, people in this hyper-focused state are narrowly focused. In hypnosis, only the hypnotized are focused in this way. The hypnosis expert is not narrowly focused, and mass formation leaders emerge which are even more narrowly focused than the followers. So we have our politicians and leaders focusing solely on one thing, distracting us away from other things that are coming out that the mainstream media will only talk about. When people experience this mental intoxication, it no longer matters if the narrative is wrong or even blatantly false. What matters is that it leads up to this mental intoxication. This is why they will continue to go along with the narrative. The resistance to understanding the narrative is false or wrong is driven by the fear of returning to the state of free-floating anxiety and wanting to continue experience the mental intoxication, which is really sad because why do people, obviously it's not our fault, it's not completely our fault, but we've also got to take an independent stand on it and realise, shit, you know, what am I actually a part of? Because when you start conforming and just doing what everyone else is doing, that is tribalism. It's kind of like a cult. You're just going along with the agenda that's happening. It's almost like we don't want to face the facts. We don't want to step out of our own denial because we were so wrong about something that we thought was so right, and now we've got something else to jump onto. We also want to be desperately right about this, but unfortunately we've just been brainwashed into thinking something again which is actually coherently wrong because we're just going along idly to something that's doesn't benefit anyone apart from the people at the top. Mass formation is also similar to mass hypnosis in terms of people's willingness to put up with things normally intolerable, which is also sad because the fact we want to fall into that anxiety and give up our freedoms, because that's what it is. You're giving up your freedoms because you've made a decision. It's never too late to go back on that decision. You've always got another choice. It's not like once you're all in, you don't have to be all in. There's a bit of insurance there. Just step away, pull out before you quiz. That always used to be my pub quiz name. Oi oi. In mass formations, people become radically intolerant of dissident voices. This person threatens to wake the people up, and they get angry when confronted by the initial anxiety and disconnect they experience by challenges to the official doctrine. So this is a sort of turd I've been having to deal with when I question something and people just get really uppity and offended, even though my intent is actually to help them because I've seen what's going on. And people need to get over the fact that there are a lot of people out there who are trying to help you and they're not doing it for themselves. But the people who are doing it for themselves are those up there controlling everything that's coming down. And they're using colours to manipulate our mind into creating a reaction within the mass formation or the masses. But who cares? Who cares? Because Fact Checkers says no evidence of pandemic mass formation psychosis, says experts speaking to Reuters. The phrase does not appear in the American Psychological Association Dictionary of Psychology, nor does it appear in the PsychNet database of published research articles. Numerous psychologists have also told Reuters that such conditions is not officially recognised. See, this is the thing about science and psychology. It's always created at some point. It's not always been one way. You learn and theories are made and science is built over time through method and conclusion and results. And those need to be in place in order for us to learn and create new things that are happening. So it's almost like they're rejecting a theory that is actually quite evident that's happened. Blows my mind. And Reuters is sponsored by billionaires. The fact checkers, don't believe them. They're probably gonna... I wouldn't be surprised if my first video just gets taken down because of the things I've said. It seems to have been made up recently. There are similar sounding concepts like mass psychogenic illness, but the scope of these is relatively narrow compared to what is being proposed here. Reuters also spoke to Stephen Richer, Professor of Social Psychology at the University of St Andrews, who has studied crowd psychology for more than 40 years. He described the concept of mass psychosis as a more metaphor than science, more ideology than fact. Just because someone has a degree in something doesn't mean they're right. And also, I've noticed doctors and scientists who have a degree, who have put out evidence of what's been going on, have been censored. They're not in the mainstream news and they're not in through this narrative. I remember speaking to someone on set the other day and she said she disagrees and that she also has a psychology degree, and it's like, well, I have an art degree and my study was watching, studying sociology in a way and how people behave through colour and what can bring them into looking at artwork. But I never brought it up. I'm not there to have a pissing contest with someone, but people always want to get on their high horse to try and be right about something that unfortunately they are wrong about. Anyway, it arises out of mass society theories and crowd psychology theories which developed in the 19th century and which reflected the fear of the masses, he said. The claim was that people in the mass lose their sense of identity and their ability to reason. They regress to inferior mental state where they are manipulable by unscrupulous leaders. It has been totally discredited by contemporary work on groups and crowds. So that's quite laughable, really. The fact they're trying to dismiss something that has quite blatantly happened and that many people have come out talking about the manipulations that's happened. And obviously I've mainly focused on the yellow and blue of the NHS and the Ukraine flag. And here in the UK, they've tried to manipulate a lot of us into feeling for the UK. I mean, I've driven around and I've seen people with Ukrainian flags and I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you waving that around? Do you not even know who's connected with Ukraine, for one? and why Russia are actually invading that country, the truth of why they're invading that country, or defending the country, if anything. I hope this has all been very insightful. Obviously, everyone is welcome to their opinion on this. I've followed some science, some psychology, and the arts. That's what we're here for, to look at things, read between the lines, and work things out together, and not conform to divisive narratives or things are actually against us, because there are forces being worked against us, and they're doing it through subconscious manipulation. And it's down to us to say no and to stand together and not fight our neighbours. Anyway, peace! Was that a satanic symbol? I hope it's not. Peace!